And ask me, are you dying as you live or living afraid to die? I couldn't lie, son. I heard God's son, like a calm hum. Died some, came alive some, up on high some. Lifted out that prison, you'll be sliding out that sepulcher. Crosshair on my body, don't care if they shoot the messenger. Ain't no weapon shall prosper, gospel flow out me like lava. No enemy that we can't counter, Mouser. I spit heat throughout the heavens to the valleys, from the highs into the lows. Everybody,
I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
We're taking it old school, and you're definitely going to need your demon fighting glasses today, because we're getting into it, and I don't care whose feelings I hurt, so let's go.
Authorities tell us that the most serious, or perhaps the most dangerous kind of devil worship comes in the form of underground cults. Most of them are very secretive, usually organizing clandestine rituals in the dark of night. Well, those ceremonies sometimes involve the sharing of animal blood to gain power, they say, but cult members believe their strength really comes from secrecy.
Don't forget, we are out here fighting demons, y'all. So I'm not going to sit here and go back through the chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. There's a lot of you guys here, so thank you. So today, I'm not going to sit here and do like a breakdown of the assassination, the murder. Okay, so if that's what you're here for, that's not going to happen. And I am going to preface this show because I feel that it is necessary to do so. I don't care about your feelings in regards to any of the individuals I'm about to discuss. I'm not ostracizing anyone. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm just breaking some of this information down. If that hurts your feelings, don't be here. because you're not going to change my mind. And if you get weird in the chat, then you're out, period. I understand this is all a very delicate topic, okay? I get that some people are going to have their feelings real butthurt, but I don't do sacred calves. I don't do golden calves, okay? So I'm not here to mock the death of someone like Charlie Kirk either. I think that all of this, you guys are going to hear my somewhat anointed theory. But I think that all of this is serving a very specific purpose. And hey, Pooks, I gotta say hi to my Pooks. Hey, Pooks, I love you. And the photos that you just posted were beautiful. I love you, and I'm so glad that you're happy. All right, so here we go. First off, let's talk about this because this all is related. So we have Cyrus the Great is alive. Some of you may have seen this, and if you haven't, that's fine. But this stuff, we're getting real weird with everything, okay? Now, before I continue, because I'm gonna have to pull, because I've loaded all of this stuff as much as I can into Restream, so I'm gonna have to be reading some of it separately in a different window because I can't zoom in on Restream. However, this is also not a Israel did it. That's not a hot take anymore. Okay? And I'm not here for that either because I think that that's part of the disinformation campaign, if I'm being completely honest with you. But this stuff does tie into it. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the Jerusalem Post, what they wrote about the dawn. Now I've got to keep this together, reading between two screens. So Donald Trump has played the same role as biblical figure Cyrus the Great, acting to help the Jewish people while others hesitated. By Dr. Mike Evans. So when did Mike Evans write this? Let's go to the next page. Please cooperate with me. Okay, so right here. This is from October 12th. Against all odds and expectations, United States Trump has emerged as the unlikely champion of peace in Gaza and Israel's survival. An NBC News report on the reaction inside Israel to the peace agreement included a billboard sponsored by Friends of Zion who proclaimed Cyrus the Great is alive. That's not just a slogan, it's a statement of fact. Those who know their Bible will understand that Cyrus, the ancient Persian king who allowed the Jewish exiles to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem after their captivity in Babylon, was not the leader the Jews would have chosen. He was not the man the world expected, but he was the one God used to change the course of history. In 2025, Trump has played that same role. When others hesitated, he acted. When the world doubted, he delivered. From moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem to brokering the Abraham Accords and now to this peace deal in Gaza, Trump has done more for Israel's security and future than any leader in living memory. Oh, that's a hot sentence. Peace, especially in the Middle East, never arrives by accident. It takes clarity, courage, and someone willing to push the boulder uphill when the world says it cannot be done. The ceasefire offers space to breathe. The hostages coming home is an answer to our prayers, and accelerating aid to civilians in Gaza is a moral imperative. The plan for new independent governance, free from the poisonous grasp of terrorists and supported by regional partners who reject terror, creates the first real opportunity in years to replace the culture of hatred with one of dignity, responsibility, and hope. Let's go to the next page here. Make sure it's loading. There we go. All right. But peace that lasts is not just about laying down physical weapons. It is about what we teach our children. The path forward is not more hatred. It is about education and a commitment to truth. Just as post-war Germany had to confront and overcome the poison of Nazi ideology, so too must the region and the world reject the lies that fuel terror and hate. Peace on paper is only the start. The moral test now falls to all of us, especially in the United States. Since the Hamas atrocities of October 7th, we have witnessed a new wave of Jew hatred in America that I never imagined in my lifetime. It has poured onto our streets, our campuses, and across social media. Anti-Semitism is no longer hiding as it once did behind closed doors and in hushed conversations. Today, it is shouting in broad daylight. My life's mission to defend the Jewish people was forged in the fires of personal suffering. I'm not here to sit here and wax poetic because the rest of that is just a bunch of personal nonsense. Okay, so I don't really care about the personal anecdotes, but please understand something. And I don't care if I lose subscribers over any of this stuff. I do not give a shit. And thank you so much, Jim, for that $20 super chat. Thank you. That just popped up, the little pair doing exercises. Thank you. Um, I don't care if I lose subscribers over any of this stuff. I am a Christian. I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the Trinity. I do not get down with the stuff that we're about to be talking about. And I do not get down with false prophets and false teachers. I don't push this stuff on you guys. You know why? Because I understand that Christians today are some of the most hypocritical people out there. And we are mocked. We, loose we, for a reason. And it's deserved and it's embarrassing. So I don't push that stuff on people. But you guys got to understand that these things that are being said about Trump being Cyrus the Great, this is some heavy stuff. This is prophecies being foretold, whether people like it or not. Now, let's go ahead and let's get into some of the more interesting things that have to do with today. So, who is John Mappin? Now I got to pull up the article on my side. Hold, please. Let me, dang it, the stupid little window up here. So, I helped my friend Charlie Kirk start Turning Point UK. The late Queen loved his Christian values. Businessman and hotelier John Mappin reveals details of a royal briefing at Windsor Castle and how the activist's death has changed Britain, from September 17th, 2025. And let's scroll down. How far do we get? So, John Mappin last saw his great friend Charlie Kirk in May. It was a fine night, and after supper at the Mandarin Hotel in Knightsbridge, the two men decided to go for a stroll in Hyde Park. Let's go to the next page. Load for me, thank you. All right, so Charlie had these two guys with him who definitely looked like they were ready to do what was needed, recalls the businessman and heir to the Mappin and Webb jewelry family, who was one of the original financial backers, of Turning Point UK, the British arm of the student organization founded by Kirk in 2012. He had only started having security fairly recently, but now always traveled with bodyguards. Perhaps it was their presence, the assassination attempts on Donald Trump, or the increasing amount of heat the 31-year-old commentator, a devout Christian whose viewpoints on gender, race, and abortion enraged liberals, was getting in both the US and the UK as his profile rose, but for whatever reason, the subject turned to death. We discussed it, and here's the thing. He wasn't fearful, says 60-year-old Mappin. He wasn't afraid of dying at all. I've been thinking about that a lot since last Wednesday, and I am sure that's a quality people who are aware of their own eternal nature have. For Charlie, his Christian faith gave him that. On Wednesday, September 10th, Kirk was speaking at an open-air event at Utah Valley University when he was hit in the neck by a single bullet. Well, that's to be determined. Videos of his assassination went viral in the immediate aftermath, some more graphic than others, and when Mappin clicked on the first link he was sent by a colleague in Washington, he thought there still might be hope. I was with my 10-year-old son when I first opened the link, without thinking. Thankfully, I managed to turn it off before Caspian saw anything. I told him to go downstairs, then I watched it, and, in that first video, it looked as though it might have been survivable. I don't know how you would draw that conclusion. He pauses. A few minutes later, the second video came out. That one was close up. It was just awful, and yeah. And let's go to the next one. And if you watched my last schizo clip, obviously I included this because this was when they went to Jerusalem in 2019. Sitting beside his Kazakhstani wife Irina in a private room at London's Connaught Hotel. For anyone that doesn't know, Connaught Hotel is where the process had their original headquarters. Yeah. Mappin falls silent with the expression on his face telling me everything that yeah fails to convey. That the attack obviously wasn't survivable. That his friend was gone. A suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was taken into custody and has now been formally charged with aggravated murder. He could face the death penalty if convicted. The funeral is to take place this weekend, with the likes of Trump, J.D. Vance, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Tucker Carlson due to attend, and the couple will fly to the U.S. to see Kirk's widow, Erica, at the end of this week. Her grief, Mappin says, is impossible to imagine, and it will be so hard. So sorry if I get a bit, Mappin warns as his eyes lose focus and his hand starts to shake. I'm usually pretty. I consider myself quite thick-skinned. I've been around the block, but since their first meeting in 2018, when they were introduced by a mutual American friend, barely a week went by without a text message or a call between the two men. Irina and Erica had also forged a firm friendship, with the two couples even holidaying together in Jerusalem in 2019. Mappin, who is one of Reform UK's most prominent supporters, has a great interest in American politics and had done a lot to assist with Trump's election campaign in 2015 and 2016, as he puts it. Because I always saw Trump as a great peacemaker, he says, and I felt we needed someone who was going to take America by the reins. When that mutual friend made him aware of Kirk's work, Mappin was fascinated by this dynamic Illinoisian's ability to connect with young voters. I called him and said, "Listen, Charlie, you've got to come over and duplicate this in England. I know lots of people here who are fed up to the back teeth with what's going on in the schools and universities. They're quite worried about the state of British culture." Here he breaks off with an aside. "Now, I want to make something very clear. I love all the other cultures. I travel a lot. I enjoy going to other countries, but I do value our culture." "Is that allowed?" he asked wryly. Nigel Farage had also been urging Kirk to set up some kind of UK equivalent to Turning Point, and when Mappin convinced him to come to London in December 2018 so that he could throw him an introductory party at the RAC Club and launch Turning Point UK at the same time, the 20 or so people he had planned to invite quickly mushroomed to nearly 200. Robin Burley, the businessman and nightclub impresario, said he wanted to give a dinner at his club, 5 Hertford Street, afterwards, and Zach and Ben Goldsmith wanted to meet Charlie. "And then I got this call from George Farmer," he goes on, referring to the British American entrepreneur, who went on to become Turning Point UK's first chairman, and who was introduced to his MAGA firebrand wife, Candace Owens, by Mappin at the event. "Watching Kirk speak that night was like an awakening for people," explains Irina. Mappin agrees that Charlie lit a touch paper, adding, "He did something to the British." "It was spiritual," he insists, when I asked how he would describe his late friend's appeal. And he was completely committed, spiritually committed, to the idea of free speech. He also had a certainty of his own immortality that was palpable. When you were around him, you knew that you were dealing with a being that was operating on a spiritual plane. Charlie had a relationship with Christ that was unashamed and so refreshing. Shortly before Charlie's arrival, our friends Lord and Lady Plunkett, who co-hosted the Turning Point launch with us, briefed the late Queen and Prince Philip about Turning Point at Windsor Castle, where they were having tea. Tyrone explained to Her Majesty everything that Charlie was doing, which she wasn't aware of. Apparently, Prince Philip found it fascinating, while she just loved the idea that Charlie was bringing younger people back to the church. Yeah, I bet she did. Mappin is keen to point out that the Christian aspect of Kirk's mission is what Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth appreciated as head of the Church of England, and that he could not presume to speak on anything else. Let's get to the next page. There we go. But as a deeply Christian soul herself, she did appreciate Charlie's sincere love of Jesus Christ and what he was doing to remind people of Christian values and to bring new people to the church. She was very interested, encouraging, and validating of what Charlie was doing, he stresses. "I've got the most incredible picture of Tyrone standing next to the late Queen, and underneath it says, 'Briefing complete.'" Briefly, we discussed the reasons for the decline of religious influence in society before moving on to Winchester-educated Mappin's own religious background. Neither his father, David John Mappin, who still worked at Mappin and Webb until it was acquired in 1958, nor his mother were particularly religious in daily life. However, after moving to LA to try his hand at acting and film producing in 1990, Mappin discovered Scientology and became what he remains today, a Christian Scientologist. That's not a thing, but we're not going to get into that right at this moment. After 6 years, Mappin had had enough of LA and returned to the UK, where he acquired a newspaper group in London that published a number of local newspapers. There he was introduced to Irina by an old childhood friend. The pair bought Camelot Castle in Cornwall in 1999 and married 2 years later. Although the historic 19th century estate was intended to be their family home, the pair later decided to turn it into a hotel and now live nearby. Earlier this month, Camelot Castle hit the headlines when Mappin said he was contacted by a company representing the Home Office who offered him eye-watering sums to use the hotel to house asylum seekers. Mappin never even considered the offer, however, declaring, "I would never ever do to the local I would never do this to the local community. I'm not doing this from a bad place. I'm doing it for the village." All right, and almost there. We're almost done. For him, community and religion are intertwined, and he has been heartened by the number of people, both here and in America, seeking solace in their Bibles or local parishes in the wake of Kirk's murder. The influence Kirk had in life has been amplified 1,000 times now, he adds. I spoke to Charlie's chief of staff, Michael McCoy, please remember that name, the other day, and he said that they have tens of thousands of people filling out forms to open chapters of Turning Point. It's an extraordinary thing. Yet we must talk about another extraordinary and chilling phenomenon, the outpouring of posthumous hate. What has surprised Mappin the most is how much bile has emanated from this country, he says. In America, the vast majority of people are horrified, and I'm sure that's the case here too, but that fringe element, there is really fringe, whereas here, he makes a face and shakes his head. It's really not good. And the rest of this is essentially just going through tomfoolery about everybody being nice or not nice. However, there are more photos, so there they are on their vacation. Okay, so there's the four of them. They look like they're having a great time, right? And they're talking about all of this nonsense with, oh, he loved to debate and he was a great debater and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you guys get it now? Okay, so Christian Scientologists, not a thing. That's not a thing. And I get that that might upset some people, but if you have half a brain, then you should understand why that's not a thing, right? Because people like to sit there and deny that or say that it's, a psyop or a way to throw people off, that the relationship between L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley is brought up. No, it's not. These are just the facts. That doesn't change the fact that L. Ron Hubbard was working for the Office of Naval Intelligence, right? That doesn't change any of that. But at the end of the day, Scientology's core beliefs are anathema to Christianity. And again, I'm using the term very loosely for a reason. So, we just read all of that stuff, right? Now, let's go ahead and let's see what they have to say about, I'm talking about TPUK. Let's see what they have to say. Some of this is kind of hard to read on my end. I'm not too worried about me being able to read it because I'm going to be able to pull up the screenshots. However, this is from the website Bartholomew's Notes, where they're breaking down that TPUK was blatantly denying the connection between John Mappin and them. I was able to go in and pull the links though, so we're going to go ahead and get those pulled up because obviously this all happened on X, right? So, hi Jessica, John Mappin is not of Turning Point UK, does not, and has not held any position in the organization. Well, I thought that he was a financial backer of it opening. As for our stance on Ukraine, I'm sure it is fairly obvious from our tweets. And let's go ahead and let's go to the next page because old boy would highly disagree. I co-founded Turning Point UK, and it has a duty to share good ideas with the Conservative Party. Trump is absolutely a political phenomenon, and it's global. John Mappin, co-founder, Turning Point UK, July 8th, 2019. So, there's that. And then they bring up a very interesting, now I got to find this article. Hold on one second, because this article is very interesting and I have to read it on my end. Damn it. I thought I was going to have this ready. Talk amongst yourselves, because fudge, what did I do with this one? Oh, I thought I was prepared. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. What the F did I do with it? Dang it. Fuck. Oh, excuse my language. All right, hold on. Hold, please. Let me find this, because I don't know what I did with it. And it's here somewhere. Let me see. If I can't find it, that's going to be really embarrassing, because I definitely thought that I was ready. That's not it. Hold on. Whatever, I'll look at the chat for 5 seconds, and I'm sure that there's people saying crazy stuff. Hopefully everybody's behaving and being nice. That's really all I care about. Don't care if you agree with me, okay? Don't have to agree with me. But that's not it either. What did I do with it? This is why I shouldn't load stuff in here. Oh, maybe this is it. Oh, did I find it? Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, I found it. Okay, so now, look, I obviously look at my statistics in YouTube. I know that I got a lot of boomers in here. I love my boomers, okay? I love old people, and I'm not calling the boomers old. I'm just saying in general, I relate to people that are older than me. Um, and again, I'm not here to offend anybody, okay? Just because I'm reading from an article doesn't mean that I necessarily co-sign everything. But I understand that the QAnon people are going to get really upset me talking about QAnon as well, okay? I don't really care. They're obviously both meant to drive you completely insane, right? So that all tracks. But let's go ahead and let me pull this now that I have it. All right, so QAnon cultist pushes Green Firm from Camelot Castle. John Mappin is a man who can switch seamlessly between discussing the fluctuations of the Amsterdam stock market and expounding conspiracies about a Satan-worshipping cabal that plotted to bring down the U.S. president. Broadcasting from the hotel he owns on the Cornish coast, the leading British QAnon conspiracist has been using his video channel to urge followers to invest in Dutch Green Business, DGB, which this week announced that it had hired Nigel Farage as the first member of its advisory board. The Dutch-listed company, in which Mappin and his wife Irina hold a 30% stake, describe itself as an environmental services company that aims to offset carbon dioxide emissions by planting trees. All of the key figures behind DGB are linked to Scientology. Mappin, who is company chairman, and his wife, a board member. And, oh, I'm not doing great with having to rotate between frickin' screens. Good God. Are followers of the cult and frequently recommend Dianetics, one of Scientology's central texts, to followers as a cure for depression. I'm going to butcher this name. Selwyn Dwijvestigen. I'm so sorry. DGB's chief executive is an ambassador for the Scientology-run Youth for Human Rights, YHR, as is Hilda van der Meulen, a former Miss Netherlands, who was introduced to Scientology by Mappin while both were living in Hollywood in the 90s. Together, the four of them and one other person own 60% of DGB's shares. There is no mention of Scientology on the company's website. Of course there's not. Announcing Farage's appointment, DGB said it would be his first independent commercial position since stepping back from frontline politics, adding that his role would be to facilitate introductions to politicians and business leaders in the UK and around the world. Mappin, 55, who was educated at Winchester College before becoming a commodities broker, has described Farage as a friend. The two were photographed sitting opposite one another at a fundraising dinner in June 2019. The hotelier has positioned himself as one of the foremost British conspiracists, wow, I'm just totally stroking out over here, peddling QAnon, a hoax that developed from anonymous cryptic messages posted on the forum websites 4chan and 8chan. The bizarre and thoroughly discredited theory claims that a satanic pedophile network was working to bring down President Trump while he was in office. Although the conspiracy attracted the biggest following in the US, British QAnon groups on Facebook gained tens of thousands of members before they were banned. Let's go to the next page. And beautiful. Don't do anything there. Last year, Mappin hoisted a Q flag above the battlements of Camelot Castle Hotel in Tintagel. I don't know if I'm saying that right either, which he has owned since the early 2000s. He has repeatedly encouraged the 20,000 subscribers to his Camelot TV program to plant a tree with DGB, and in one broadcast explained that the reason for his support for reforestation was down to the fact that the Latin name for an oak tree, Curcus or Cursus, bore a similarity to QAnon. I'm sorry, so it's ridiculous reasoning that I've ever heard in my entire life. The first letter of that name may give you a deep, deep insight into why it is that we are great tree lovers, said Mappin, who in 2017 shared a tweet which described global warming as the invention of the CIA. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I can't. This shit is just, it's too much. The employment of the former Brexit Party leader may seem an odd move given some of his past comments on climate change. In 2013, Farage told the European Parliament, "We may have made one of the biggest and most stupid collective mistakes in history by getting so worried about global warming." Asked why DGB chose to hire Farage, Duij Vestigen, I'm so sorry, told the Times that he has a green heart and is someone who can really get the message out there. Farage will be paid a monthly retainer from DGB, but is not a salaried employee. Oh, I'm going to butcher your name again. Duij Vestigen, a former hedge fund manager who in 2019 was found by the Netherlands Authority for the Financial Markets to have given misleading information on TV, said that DGB did not endorse Mappin's QAnon beliefs. He added that the company was in no way a religious or political organization. "We're just focused on planting trees," he said. Mappin and Farage did not respond to a request for comment. So, isn't that fun? We've got QAnon trees. How fun is that, right? Are we having a good time yet? You see how convoluted all of this stuff is? I think that it's fun. Because if you don't laugh, then you're going to cry, right? So, now that we've gone through all that, I'm going to wet my whistle for a second. I'm just going to peek at the chat. I'm not really like here to take requests or address anybody's gripes. But QAnon trees, you learn something new every day, right? You learn something new every day. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? This is going to be a long show. I also forgot to give that warning as well. And I don't even know if I'm going to get through all of it, but I'm going to try to get through as much as possible. So thank you guys for bearing with me, because it is very difficult to read something in a different window because I can't zoom in on Restream. But I tried really hard to organize this and load everything for you guys because there's a lot to cover. And obviously, this is a contentious topic. And never trust the e-meter. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But we're going to get into some of the ex-Scientology influencers, because guess what? They tie into this too. So, isn't that fascinating? I think it's fascinating. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at the socials, because when you're looking at these people, their social media will tell you so much. It'll tell you so much, right? So, let's go ahead and look. So here we go. This is from his Instagram, or I'm not his Instagram. This is someone, Elizabeth Shulk. I have no idea how, whatever, but there's Irina, there's Charlie, and there is John. And then the 1776 movement, I just think it's kind of odd. That's why I underlined the hashtag there. And is this thing going to load, or is it going to freeze? Okay, so some of you may be familiar with Eva Vlar. She is another right-wing or conservative influencer. She's a very beautiful young woman. She is the blonde standing next to that dude, and I have put arrows over the Mappins. So, just so that you guys can see how much time they like spending with a very specific type of influencer. Oh, and there she is on a plane with them. Thank you so much to my friends Irina and John Mappin for inviting me to the beautiful Camelot Castle last week. Camelot Castle is breathtaking, and I had a blast seeing all of you there. You gotta wonder why. they want to get in with these people so badly. I have an idea, but we'll see what you guys think. And there is Charlie, and uh-oh, look, there's Erica. Does anybody else agree that she's a major sus lord? Yeah, she's a super sus lord, sus queen, sus witch. I have no idea. And let's go to the next one. Here we go. I don't know how many more slides we have left. Oh, yeah, so there they are outside of Mar-a-Lago. I believe this was for Easter. Yep, this was for Easter brunch. So isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? And one more, uno mas. Oh, yeah, so I had to throw this in because this just makes me real annoyed. Okay, so there's John Babin quoting himself in a tweet that he was tagging Candace Owens in, and it's Tom Cruise. If you're scared of something, keep looking at it. Tom Cruise, because obviously he loves Tom Cruise, right? He loves Tom Cruise. Now, let me go ahead. You know what? We're going to go should I go out of order? I don't think that I should. I'm not going to go out of order. All right, so that's like a little teaser. I didn't mean to put that in there. And yeah, Erica, let's talk about Erica for 5 seconds, okay? I'm around death all the time. I've seen people die and people act wild, okay? That's just the nature of the ICU. So I don't judge grief from the outset because I've seen people bust out laughing. It's not really a strange phenomenon. So I gave her a little bit of slack, and then I'm just like, oh, she's just. It seems like she already went through the grief process, in my humble opinion. And I'm not getting into Erica today. That will be another episode because I also forgot to preface and fuck, I wish you would have said something, Echo Cat, if you're still here. This is a combination of me and Echo Cat's research. This is not just me. And I was supposed to say that at the beginning, but I was a little bit nervous talking about this stuff because when you talk about politics and religion, everybody gets butthurt. This is a lot of work of me and Echo Cat, but there were technical difficulties, so he could not be here. So shout out to Echo Cat. Go follow him on X. I will add his link afterwards. But we're going to save Erica for another day because there's the stuff about Romania and all of that. Yeah, I know. It's not a surprise. I get it. She comes from a DOD family. Okay. They're also really into animal advocacy, and I may or may not have connected them to Best Friends Animal Society. Surprise! But let's go ahead and let's just keep this going in the order that I had originally intended, because I just psyop myself with that Tom Cruise tweet to Candace Owens. So, all right, now we saw that they had mentioned that the Turning Point party was thrown at the RAC. That's the Royal Automobile Club. Okay, this was founded in August of 1897 as a social and athletic club. And who is the president? Well, the president is Prince Michael of Kent. Very, very fancy. This is all very bourgeois, right? Very, very fancy. So, right here, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point, a special relationship with London and the UK. Kirk's impact on Harvard, Oxford, and Cambridge. In December 2018, a chance introduction sparked a pivotal moment at London's Royal Automobile Club, where my wife Irina and I hosted Charlie Kirk and introduced the founder of Turning Point USA to the UK. The exclusive evening was billed as a gathering of political genius. It did not disappoint. The initiative was supported by Nigel Farage and was backed by Robin Burley, Lord and Lady Tyrone Plunkett, Amanda Elias, and Peter Southall. All right, so let's go ahead and let's continue. Now, I know that you guys can't read that, and that's why I'm going to, since I can't zoom in. So, the royal family's links to the secretive Society of Freemasonry. For all you people that have ever bitched about me not talking about the Freemasons, here's your moment. This is from December 5th, 2022 by Charlie Proctor. So, It is often dubbed as one of the world's most secret societies. The world of Freemasonry, from covert handshakes to Masonic rituals, mystery surrounds the organization, which has connections to the British royal family. Many members of the royal family are rumored to be Freemasons, although only 2 current members are publicly known to be part of the society. The Duke of Kent has been the Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England for 55 years. This means Queen Elizabeth II's cousin is the most senior Freemason in the hierarchy. Last month, the Duke attended a concert at Freemasons Hall to commemorate His Royal Highness's 55th anniversary. In 2017, His Royal Highness conducted 20 engagements that were connected to Freemasonry, according to the court circular. And let's go to the next page. There we go. The Duke's brother, Prince Michael of Kent, is also a Freemason and is Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Master Masons and Provincial Grand Master of the Provincial Grand Lodge of Middlesex. The Duke of Edinburgh was a Freemason, being initiated to the role in the year his wife, Elizabeth, ascended to the throne. Do we think that those things are connected? I don't really know. In the past, 5 monarchs have been members of a Masonic lodge. This includes the King's grandfather, George VI, who was Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Scotland between 1936 and 37. Edward VII was also Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England from 1874 to 1901. There are around 5 million Freemasons around the world, 200,000 of them living in England and Wales. Freemasons believe in brotherhood, help out one another in times of hardship. However, the organization does not come without controversy. Because of the secrecy and alleged elitism within lodges, there is strong opposition to the movement in many countries. And I'm sorry that you guys can't really see my highlight there, but a number of years ago, the group said they had written to the Equality and Human Rights Commission due to members being undeservedly stigmatized, and I highlighted that and said LOL. What a joke. What a joke, right? So let's go ahead and let's continue to the next page, because of course we're not done. Obviously, I don't want to use just one source, right? I want to use multiple sources to show you guys. So this, Mark Master Masons, the Mark degree, HRH, Prince Michael of Kent of the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Mark Master Masons is, as is well known, the blood brother of HRH, the Duke of Kent, the Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England. Jesus, this is a lot of grand. And I'm not trying to sit here and go through all of this history. This is just to show you guys. Now, I've never seen a lawsuit involving Freemasons, so I thought that this was just kind of entertaining. Prince Michael of Kent's Freemasons Lodge faces legal action. The Freemasons Lodge, of which Prince Michael of Kent is Grand Master, is being sued in the High Court over a £673,000 bill, March 9th, 2012. Oh, do I really feel like reading that? No, I don't, but I just wanted to show you guys that because, hey, I think that it's interesting, right? So there you guys go. Now you see there's obviously some funny money. Oh, what's up, little wretched? I ain't never seen you in here. What's up, homie? So nice to see you. So a lot of grand, a lot of Mason. Don't feel like sitting there and reading that 1,000 times over. Now, wet my whistle again. Reading all of that, just grand, lodge, Mason. You can now never say that I don't talk about the Freemasons, because I just did. And I just showed a lawsuit where they totally ripped somebody off about their logo. You can go and find it. It's not, I mean, it is paywalled, but the article's really short, so you can actually read the entire thing without paying for it. Or if you're quick enough, you just do Control-Alt-P to print screen, and you grab it before the paywall kicks in. Yeah, so now, oh, I gotta pull up this article. Now, this is something that I could not load in here because I actually just have to show you guys this in a separate screen. So, there's a magazine. It's very long. It's like 100 pages. I'm not going to sit here and go through it. It is like the Camelot Castle sort of magazine, right? Because this place is obviously very popular. Leah Ramini's in there. And thank you so much, Tara, for the super sticker or super chat. John Travolta's there, Tom Cruise is there, right? So this all tracks. So I'm looking through this magazine, and it's whatever. Of course, Leah Remini is going to be there, Little Miss Claw Nails, right? But I saw this interesting character that I had never heard before, and I was like, who is this person? Because he's the only person that's named in this entire magazine that is referred to as John Mappen's spiritual brother. He's a very interesting person. You may know him. So this is 1G. I don't know if you guys know who 1G is, but we're about to find out. But here he is listed as, obviously he's a musician, but also a Haitian human rights campaigner. But that is John Mappen's spiritual brother. And here they are again. This is on, I love their matching jackets. I'm here for, the smoke. The drip is hard, right? But I want to know what kind of spiritual brother you guys are, right? Because for those of you that know, don't know, or if you've been on my ex, then you know what I'm talking about. But let me go ahead and show you guys this article, because we're not reading this whole thing because it is very long. So this is from the LA Times. Juan G. Bruni was the music promoter's story too good to be true. And again, some of you may have heard of him. He sold himself as the rich, powerful force behind Tyga, Sean Kingston, and Little Mosey. But Mosey's mother and many others paint a darker picture. So this guy was a huge con artist, right? Super huge con artist. That's all good and well. Now, let's go ahead and look right here. Because a Times investigation found that over the past 2 decades, Bruni has utilized a perception of affluence, supposed personal ties to celebrity, and references to Haitian voodoo to convince more than 24 people to give him thousands of dollars in investments or loans, money that they never saw again, according to lawsuits, interviews, and bankruptcy filings. In the last 20 years, Bruni or companies associated with him have been sued at least 19 times in LA County Superior Court. In 9 of those cases, he was ordered to pay judgments amounting to more than $2.1 million, none of which has ever been paid. During that period, he filed for bankruptcy 3 times in California, most recently in 2019, when between his personal and business Chapter 7 records show he was discharged of roughly $9.9 million in debt liabilities. And let's go ahead and find the next part about this stuff. Hold on, because let me show you guys this. Duvalier. There we go. Okay, so this, for those of you who know about Papa Doc Duvalier, so apparently, according to this investigation, his father, McNeil Bruni, was, but denies himself that he said that he was a high-ranking member of the Haitian army under Francois Papa Doc Duvalier. Apparently, he's clarifying that he worked under Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier. Now, for those of you who know or don't know, Papa Doc Duvalier weaponized voodoo against the Haitian people, okay? So this is some really dark shit here. This is really, really dark, and this is why people call parapolitics conspiratorial, and I'm like, nah, bro. You need an understanding of history, and this does help. Now, right here, this was the thing that fascinated me the most in regards to this rapper Mosey. Because remember, the heading of the article said that Mosey's mother, right? So Mosey's mother, some other people said that the situation with Wang Ji is dark. Mosey's team advised him against pursuing this opportunity. His funds were dwindling as he continued to fight a rape charge. As a jury prepared to deliver its verdict, Bruni urged Mosey to partake in a rum bath ritual. According to 2 sources close to the situation, in the voodoo religion, rum baths are used for good luck or to take off something bad, said Elizabeth McAllister, a one university professor who researches centers on Afro-Caribbean religions like Haitian voodoo. On March 2nd, 2023, Mosey was acquitted. And indeed he was. He was acquitted. There are a lot of people that were close to him that think that Mosey's mother's demise was related to some type of curse. And again, I'm not here to convince people one way or the other, right? But are you guys voodoo brothers? Or are you guys Scientology brothers? Because you said that you guys are spiritual brothers. This is the only person that I have found in any of their publications that list an individual as a spiritual brother of John Mappin or spiritual sibling in general. Now, is this an Eskimo brother type of situation? I don't really know, right? Could be something a little bit freak nasty. Not quite sure. Now, let's go ahead and let's continue in the line of everything that we are going through. Yeah, we're not going to pull up the Camelot magazine. Now, the thing that threw me off was the Candace Owens, Tom Cruise, stare at something forever, totally Scientology tweet, right? So let's go ahead and look at this because I know that a lot of you are Candace fans, and that's fine. I'm not here to argue with you about it. And I'm not going to read this entire article, but Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and the Pursuit of Truth by John and Irina Mappin. Okay, so this is something that he posted recently on his X. This was where I saw it. If Magazine, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and the Pursuit of Truth, when friendship becomes the highest form of patriotism. Okay, so he makes some interesting observations. I will give him that. But my issue here is, and this is just me, the veneration of Charlie. Okay, it's almost like he's being deified, and that's very odd to me. And I'm not saying that, Candace Owens is completely inaccurate in any of her observations, right? I think that she's a smart woman. Obviously, she has to be kind of smart. Let's all be intellectually honest here, okay? She has to be kind of smart to be in her role, even if that's just being good at talking. Do I like her? No, I do not. I think that she's a grifter just like the rest of these people, okay? However, there has been a very odd change in the zeitgeist because we had Candace Owens coming out and saying one thing, and she's slowly shifted, and people are slowly coming behind her. And John Mappin has been leading the charge. Okay, he's been leading the charge here. It's Candace Owens is pursuing the truth. Candace Owens is out here asking the right questions. I think it's a little bit sus that he wasn't really doing this when she was pulling the Israel did it, right? Because that's the go-to for everybody nowadays. And again, my hot take, I think that little Benny Netanyahu, I think that he was in on the disinformation campaign. Okay, and I understand that that might go over some people's heads, but I'm sorry, it just doesn't really make sense at the end of the day. And even Candace's own observations are going to lead to that. But let's go ahead and let's get into John Mappin deleting some of his tweets, possibly because of me. So, I posted here. Yeah, the Scientologist in Epstein's Black Book who introduced Candace to her husband is out here being assailed by the darkest forces of demonic evil on earth. Are people actually buying this garbage? John Mappin said, "Thank you, Candace. When good people are assailed by the darkest forces of demonic evil on earth, it's up to people of goodwill to speak out. We are sure many more will. Other friends and Turning Point donors have been in touch, as have others." Isn't that so lovely? That's great. Now, unfortunately, I did not get. Oh, wait, no, this isn't it. Hold on. We're not there yet. So, right here, for those who have asked, where did this information come from? This has been brought up in some of the articles that we've read, but another grifter, Nick Fuentes, obviously goes on some type of rant about the marriage of Candace Owens and George Farmer, which, I mean, sure, yeah, it's super sus. Do you know why it's sus, though? It's sus because John Mappin introduced them. So here on October 5th, John Mappin was saying, uh, Nick J. Fuentes as my wife. I'm Mappin, and I introduced Candace to George Farmer. I know that this rumor that you have heard somewhere along the Chinese whispers grapevine is not true. What a wild take, right? George was a last minute invitation to the event where I introduced them. A Chinese whisper campaign. Okay, all right, that's a real hot take. Whatever you say there, bud. Now, this is the tweet that he deleted, and I did not get a screenshot of the original one, lesson learned, but I asked, why did you delete your tweet about Candace helping you become a better Scientologist by helping you understand Catholicism? And this was me replying to that. I said, the two don't comport, but you all know that, so why are you trying to convince the public otherwise? Do Scientologists view OT7 with the same veneration as the Seven Mountain Mandate, which Turning Point promotes? Because that is what Turning Point promotes. Okay? But he deleted that, and, well, the rest, as they say, is history. So let's continue looking through some of his insanity. So here we have him promoting CCHR. We've talked about CCHR many times, right? So he's quoting Candace here. Remember, this is the stuff with the school that we're not allowed to talk about with the initials SH, okay? Just wait until she digs into the doing of psychology's evil henchman, psychiatry. CCHR.org will get you started. Oh, all right. Hot take. Do you see what I'm saying? How Scientology is just perverting all of this stuff? Let's continue. Hey, Desert Rain, I love you, girl. I'm so happy that you're here. It's so nice to see you. All right, so here, it's amazing how the desire to discover who killed Charlie Kirk is unifying good Christians and good Muslims. Truth unifies, lies divide. Can we stop? Can we stop treating what happened as this thing, as this catalyst that took the earth off of its, almost about to fall over axis, and now it's bringing everything back into balance? Can we stop? Of course we can't stop, though, right? These people can't stop because they have a goal. Dear friends on X and other media news platforms, Irina and I wanted to thank all those people that have written to us to acknowledge our open letter and statement about Candace Owens. That was the article that we just kind of perused through. This letter has now been read by tens of millions. I highly doubt that, John Mappin. I'd like to see those stats. And here is QAnon Queen and super big grifter Liz Crokin. I'm sure that some people are going to get butthurt about that. Liar, grifter, clown. She's a clown, okay? So there she is, thanking them, but that all makes sense to me. And this one, so I took these screenshots, I believe, day before yesterday, okay? But I hope you were following I have no idea. He is a peacemaker. And he is quote tweeting someone who said, Putin's special envoy for Russia is Q posting again. The storm is coming. The storm is coming. Okay? I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the Q people. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't deal with this stuff, okay? It's too much. It's all just way too much. So, and this is him quoting a woman, I'm sorry, I won't assume your gender, Kezia Noble. I hate the fact that 10-year-olds are given so much homework and are spending half their weekend learning how to pass exams. I don't care if this opinion is unpopular. And he says, you are right. Come to Camelot and we will show you an alternative. Excuse me? Are you guys teaching Dianetic, I don't know, elementary school Scientology stuff? Middle school? I'm very curious. I have no idea. Can't find anything. So he might have just been bragging a little bit. So here's one from August 26th. The big unanswered question on planet Earth is, what happens to you when the body dies? This is answered empirically using scientific method in Scientology. The scientific method in Scientology. However, until you take the time to observe and investigate L. Ron Hubbard's discoveries for yourself, this song and video is a very accurate communication of what happens to us all. Remember, this is the person that said that Charlie was very in tune with his spiritual self. And again, I'm not here to trash Charlie, okay? But why would someone who thinks that Scientology is using empirical science to prove what happens to your body when it dies, why is he feeling like he can relate to Charlie in a spiritual way, right? That's a fair question. And right here, he is talking about St. Hill, one of the great epicenters of freedom on planet Earth. That's a hot take, right? I guess you'd have to ask anybody who's locked up in the basement. We're not going to ask where Shelley Miscavige is because we know where she is. She was never missing. So right here, if you want to understand the spirit-body interface, study Scientology. The fundamentals were completely delineated between 1951 and 1984. He tags Elon Musk. Start here, Scientology.tv. Now don't get me wrong. Stanford, SRI, Stanford researchers, nah, I ain't with it. You guys know that. I'm not with the whole DARPA, the Brain Project, whatever. I'm good. But really, we're going to be pushing Scientology onto everybody? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's go on to the next one. So let's see. I can't see the entire tweet, but study Scientology, ignore its critics. Start with reading Dianetics and then read Science of Survival, both by the author L. Ron Hubbard. It is a phenomenal breakthrough. And down here, someone named Liam Tufts, August 7th, said, as an atheist, I'm still able to identify the need for Britain to kickstart Christianity. Many people require and deserve structure, faith, and guidance. A godless society will never work. John Mappin says, Liam, can I suggest that you make an honest appraisal of Scientology? It will reveal scientific spiritual truths that validate your personal, keyword, personal immortality. Personal immortality, and you will get to know the creator of all as the result of an empirical, proven journey. Rational, logical, and fair. Riveting, isn't it? This shit is riveting. Excuse my language. Let's go to the next one. So this was just him replying to somebody, and I thought that it was really insane. So he said, come to Christ, Prometheus. I am a Christian Scientologist. That's not a thing. But he says one augments the other. I would like to know how. I would like for someone to explain to me how Christianity augments Scientology or vice versa because they are anathema to one another. So this individual, which don't get me started on this whole third Elijah thing, we're going to get into that at some point. You're going to have to show me how you square that circle, my friend. Looking forward to an epic conversation at Camelot Castle over a whiskey on this one. He said, just read any book on Scientology by L. Ron Hubbard, and you will see just how aligned the truth is with the truth. What? Why are you sitting here talking in riddles, Mappin? The truth is aligned with the truth. Riveting, enlightening, right? This is my favorite tweet. Was L. Ron Hubbard one of the first people to start exposing the deep state? In the light of the existing conflicts in the world, it's time for humanity to ask, who is the hidden third party that is causing conflict? Scientology. L. Ron Hubbs, old Hubbs, was out here exposing the deep state, according to deep state operatives. You really can't make this stuff up, guys. I wish you could. I wouldn't, though, because it's really not funny. So here he is quoting Tristan Tate, another really hot take. So he says, it's vital to look for sanity and truth where it exists and is well documented. Also, can we just point out that John Mappin can't spell to save his damn life? Scientology is certainly a great source of sanity on the subject of psychiatry. CCHR has done extraordinary work in that regard. By the same token, Islam has made some glorious and sane contributions to life and living, particularly in the area that you have highlighted. A sane mind and a literate person can reach for these truths and they will win from them. Not only that, but they can help others win too. And what loving God would not want what loving God would not wish that for creation? So he's talking about winds, because that's a Scientology thing, right? The winds. Yeah, so we're talking about the winds with Jesus. Okay, whatever you guys say, and Islam. See, they're just meshing everything together. So this was someone that he was in a little back and forth with. Sanity and peace, huh? Didn't Hubbard partner with occult magician Parsons to do the Babylon working back in the day? I didn't know black magic was peace. Well, that's kind of a trick question, because there's no difference between black magic and white magic. However, John Mappin replies, no, that's a false propaganda line pushed by those who don't want you to look at what Hubbard discovered. Oh, that's the secret, guys. These propagandists want war. Scientology creates peace. Okay, whatever you guys say. Whatever you guys say. Now, hold on, because this thing just totally froze up on me. Am I still here? Can you guys still see me and hear me? Yeah. Hopefully you can, because I've only got one more slide to get through. But this thing just kicked me out for a second. So oh wait, is that the last one? No, it's not. So why isn't it letting me go to the next slide? You dirty Daniel, dang it. Hold on, because I gotta find the last one. No, because it's worth pulling up. Because when I saw it, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Hold on, let me see. Where is it? I will pull it up. Yeah, here we go. It's odd that it's not pulling this up, but let's go ahead and let's pull it up. All right, one more tweet. For some reason, it's not loading in here. So, right here. So, well, Scientology, this is from April. Scientology is new. It holds the solution to all that ails mankind. Isn't that what Jesus said? Look where it got him. This is what somebody said. No, Scientology had not been codified when Jesus was alive, but it helps Jesus and Christians too. You guys reading that? Okay, we getting it now? Why would Scientology help Jesus? Whether you believe in Jesus or not, I don't care. Again, I'm not here to convince you. Why? See how that doesn't make sense? See how they're just kind of trying to mesh everything together? And that's a little bit odd, right? It's a little bit sus. But I would be remiss if I did not point out what I pointed out at the beginning in regards to Trump, the Don, being referred to as Cyrus the Great. Because again, whether people like it or not, these things are prophesied, written about, right? If you've been on my channel for some time, you remember when I used to read from like the Rockefeller Foundation committee hearings back like right after World War II ended. I think we spent like a good 4 hours reading through that, where they talk about New World Order. That's not a conspiracy theory. That shit's in writing. One world, this oneness, all this oneness, right? These things are foretold. These are long game plans. That's not a conspiracy. I mean, it is a conspiracy. It's just not a theory. So you have to ask yourself why a influencer like Candace Owens would not be a bit more upfront with people that the person who introduced her to her husband was in Epstein's Black Book. Right? Or that he's a Scientologist who tries to equate Scientology being, complementary with Christianity or Catholicism. Because again, he deleted that tweet. But other people saw it because other people started tagging me. My phone started blowing up and I was like, damn it, I didn't get the screenshot. Other people noticed it first. Now, when I was looking through Mr. Mappin, obviously one of the things that came to mind was, has there been, besides Tony Ortega, because you guys know how I feel about Tony Ortega, has there been any talk of some of the things that we've gone over from the X community, right? Well, there's been a little bit, and we're not really going to read it. But I am going to go ahead and show you guys, just that way I'm being fair. So, fraud, lies, and a Hollywood blockbuster. Scientology's linked to the British crown jewels. So, this was written by Apostate Alex, right? So, for those of you who are familiar with SPTV, Suppressive Person TV, the ex Scientology community, this is all that I've really been able to find, and I don't really feel like sitting here and reading it, but I did want to show that to be fair. Now, who is Apostate Alex? I'm obviously not going to drop links. I'm not going to promote these people. However, this is his channel. Look, oh, he's got John Atack right there. You guys already know how I feel about John Atack. So we have a CIA simp right here on the front page of his channel. That's all good and well. And when you start digging in a little bit further to see what other connections are going on. So here we have Apostate Alex, where Andrew Gold was talking with a current Scientologist at the time of this video, Katie Lohman, in regards to Apostate Alex's Scientology story, right? Some of you guys may know who Andrew Gold is. Well, let's go ahead and let's continue to the next one. So here is Andrew Gold interviewing the late Doug Kramer, which we will be talking about very soon. And here he is, where he did a video that has now been deleted and has been memory holed from history, where he speaks very ill of the late Doug Kramer and insinuates that Doug committed suicide, which we know now, for those that watched my last stream, that we don't know what happened to Doug, right? But let's keep going, because Andrew Gold has some other very interesting guests. Like Kelly Copter of SPTV, for those that are aware of the ex-Scientology influencer space, right? Because that's all they are, is quote-unquote influencers. They're not accomplishing anything, but I won't digress too much. Oh, and there he is, literally in Clearwater with Aaron Smith-Levin. King of the douchebags. Sorry, Aaron. Not sorry. You can go fuck yourself. Anyways. But then who else do we have? Uh-oh. This one's pretty recent. Who's his guest? Who's his guest? Can you guys guess it? It's John Mappin. Oh, look at them. They're in studio together. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that so much fun? So, if I wanted to be really petty, I could say that SPTV has some relatively loose connections to John Mappin, right? So, why don't they talk about any of this stuff? And who Desert Sean Atwood? Yes, I saw that he had Sean Atwood on. Yeah. Well, because, like, these are truthers, right? These are truthers out here. These are Epstein truthers, because this was the whole impetus when me and Echo Cut started digging into this, is why do the Epstein truthers always omit the shit with Scientology? Always. I'm talking about Whitney Webb, the technocracy, right? She doesn't talk about anything there. Completely omits it. I have never seen any of them talk about it. So, why don't they? This would be an amazing moment for SPTV and its little harem or farm of shills to seize upon the death of Charlie Kirk. And they have not said a thing. Right? Isn't that odd? Especially for somebody who is super clickbaity like Aaron Smith-Levin. Yeah, I think that that's a little bit odd. That was something that stuck out to me. Sometimes it's the silence that says more than people talking, right? So, Now, let me pull up the next article because I don't think that this is big enough for me to be able to read, because we're going to be getting into some more Scientology nonsense. Where is it, you dirty little hoe? Where did you put it? Come on. Come on. Hold, please. Talk amongst yourselves. Uno momento. What did I do with it? Oh, little freak. There we are. All right, cool. Okay, so let me pull this open over here. And all right, so again, ask yourself why the influencers who take your money and, say that they're out here exposing things, why they don't bring these things up. Because, damn, this is the time to seize on the death of Charlie Kirk, right? And I'm not here to do that. I'm here to just ask questions. I think that plenty of people are out here grifting off of the death of a very young father. At the end of the day, I don't care if people agreed with what he agreed with or not, because ultimately, I didn't have a veneration for Charlie, and I don't. In regards to being theologically sound in what the Bible states, he was very intelligent, which is hard for someone who's only 31. I would not be able to go out there and do anything like that at that age. And that, deserves acknowledgement. That takes a level of patience and skill. But I do think that he was groomed and put into that position. And I think that he served his purpose. I don't think that any of this was by accident. This is just my hot take. But let's go ahead and let's continue. So, pull up, you damn thing. Now, here is another article. So this is Success Story, Camelot Castle in Tintagel, I have no idea. Along the Cornwall coast is a hotel owned by Scientologists John and Irina Mappin. This is from 2015. We have heard stories for years that guests of the hotel have found the experience unsettling, with Scientology brochures placed in their rooms. This success story by Arthur DeRoe makes it clear that the connection to Scientology is stronger than a few pieces of paper. Indeed, it is. Let's go to the next page. All right, so April 30th, 2015 to May 3rd, 2015. During my 4-day visit at Camelot Castle, I had the great fortune to be able to converse with John Mappin and Irina Mappin. Mr. Mappin taught me practical knowledge which will help to salvage and free me for eternity. Wow. I owe so much gratitude to him and his wife Irina. He has helped me to find ways to salvage the relationship with my parents, who felt invalidated in their hat. Isn't that like a Scientology thing? And gave me practical tips on how to make them feel appreciated again by me as their son. This will help introduce my parents to the bridge. John gave me examples of how to disseminate Scientology more effectively, and I had the great realization of how big and significant Scientology really is. I now have learned how to disseminate Scientology in a way that knocks off and theta and doesn't allow for an inch of black PR to enter the conversation. Whew, this thing is heavy with Scientology jargon. I had the major realization we are about to end war on this planet by disseminating Scientology and making superpower available for all. John reminded me how to assess the tone level of individuals and how to introduce them to Scientology. I have learned a strategy to disseminate 10 people a week to Scientology on my own. My necessity level to go up the bridge has never been higher after my visit to Camelot Castle. I realized how tired I am of certain situations in my life and can now begin to confront them. Mr. Mappin helped me confront my biggest and most hidden ruin in my life, which had destroyed all my luck in life and had ruined many lifetimes before this life. So many lives. I had a very personal revelation in relation to L. Ron Hubbard and saw with my own senses that he is still alive with us. Oh, is the red-headed Buddha still here? I want a new friend in my life that I can always count on and is always there. As a result, I want to flow more power to source. Holy guacamole. Let me make sure hold on, why is this showing this picture here? Did I skip a page over here? I sure did. I was reading this page. I'm sorry. I'm a dirty little Daniel. My bad. Whoops, I'm catching up to you guys now. So during my stay at the hotel, John gave me many tips on how to increase my luck and prosperity by handling ethics, applying the right conditions, and using the green volumes. I don't understand what any of this shit means. Some of the things I learned included the importance of using condition for exchange. Huh? The importance of applying the right condition. The importance of applying the non existence formula. Huh? And many more useful tools. I realized the importance of keeping my ethics in, what? And how subtle out ethics that I am aware of, but ignore can cause me to fail or become unlucky. Ah, God, it's so many words. I realized the importance of using good manners, and I will never forget just how powerful this is. John even made time to audit me on a process. Did he? During the auditing, I had the cognition that I am a Thetan and can make decisions, and can place something on my future time track for a specific moment in time. By doing this process, I saw that I can indeed predict the future by creating it. Arthur DeRoe. And then someone left a comment. Dear mom and dad, I joined a cult. Would you like to join too? This is what these people believe. This is what these people believe. Okay? So I don't really know what to tell you. But these people do believe that they can create things, that they control their own like future and past, and we have these million past lives, right? This is what they believe. So I don't understand how these things comport. And when I say comport, I mean with Christianity. But I have a feeling that me and John Mappin probably wouldn't get along in regards to quote unquote Christianity and his interpretation of it. Now, let me find the next one because, I'm just fucking up. Excuse my language. Let's see. I'm trying to find this next one here because we are going to see that indeed, this castle that they have, that they seem to bring a lot of right wing influencers to. So until I see something to the contrary or something denying it, I'm just going to assume that this is what they're doing. This is used to recruit people via CCHR. We've talked about CCHR previously in regards to RFK Jr., Alex Jones, the pew 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 school with two letters that SH we're not allowed to talk about, right? And as far as me hating on Scientology, I'm not hating on Scientology. If you feel hurt, go back to the very beginning of the show where I say that I don't care whose feelings I hurt. Okay? I've made that very clear. You can come in here and you can call me a hater. I've been dealing with these assholes trying to ruin my life, gang stalk me, harass me, fuck with me for over 2 years. So I have no problem exposing Scientology, especially since their own people don't come out here and do it themselves. People with much bigger platforms than me. People like SPTV, who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, are not out here talking about this stuff. So if you're up in your feelings about it, kindly fuck off, okay? Because I don't have to have patience for it. Now, let's go ahead and let's get into the next thing. So right here, this is from the blog Google John Mappin. Camelot Castle Hotel and Scientology. Friends of Camelot. Millions of drug children in insert your town name here. From October 26, 2010. And let's go to the next page. Here we go. And sorry, the way that this PDF pulled it. Irina Mappin dreams of one day having children yours if you let her recruit. And again, I would ask, what they are teaching in regards to the 10-year-olds, right? So, right here, a personal letter from Irina Mappin, Camelot Castle, a new film. You can see the film here. Link mercifully removed. Dear neighbors and friends of Camelot, firstly, I wanted to warmly thank you for your appreciation and support of our community outreach program. Your tremendous letters of thanks have been most appreciated. It means so much to us to know that so many of you appreciate what we do. Whatever we all do in life, we all, as human beings, have a purpose to do something for the good of mankind. We value the opportunity to share knowledge with those around us, as I think we know that this is a way to real success and prosperity. As you may know, my husband has been working for many years on the campaign to educate and inform people on the dangers of certain psychiatric drugs, especially when given to children. Across all of life lives, across all of life, lives we hold Jesus, this is hard to read. Across all of life lives we hold very our children very dear to us and close to our hearts. Irina, you and John really need to take a writing class. Naturally, as these precious beings are our children, they occupy a special place in our hearts, and it is unimaginable to think we could live with ourselves if we were to allow someone to harm them. Any mother would do anything possible to protect their child from ill will and evil. That is why this new film, Dead Wrong, is so important. It is why I am writing to you today. Unfortunately, sometimes, through no fault of their own, parents lack knowledge and information as to how exactly to protect their children. Sadly, all too often in today's media advertising driven world, they trust someone, an expert, whose intentions are simply to make money at any cost. This is why, when John became aware of the research that illuminated a huge deception that was costing thousands of children their lives and a lifetime of grief to their families, he dedicated a large part of his life, work, and resources in order to help inform parents on this very important issue. To this end, last week saw the international global release of Dead Wrong in 15 languages by CCHR. You can see the film Dead Wrong for free here, link mercifully removed. It is one of the most moving, hard-hitting, and emotional documentaries to date that illuminates this problem in a very simple and yet powerful way. This is the story of Matthew and his mother and their family. In telling their story, it illustrates the story of millions more children. They live all over the world. Many of them live in Britain, in Cornwall, and indeed, shockingly, even our own wonderful village of Tintagel. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. As I hope to be a future mother one day, and as someone who loves children dearly with all my heart, I am writing to you with a great wish that you take to heart the information that this film contains. As soon as I saw this film, I was moved to share this information with you personally, and we are indeed sharing this with as many people as possible to prevent other children and families from experiencing the tragedy of Matthew and his family. That is why this film and its knowledge is my personal gift to you today. My hope for you and your family is that you watch it and share this knowledge with others. Together with the knowledge that this film contains, we can literally save lives. Helping the Citizens Commission of Human Rights has always been one of the wonderful purposes of our projects, and Camelot Castle in particular. I'm going to read that again. Helping the Citizens Commission of Human Rights has always been one of the wonderful purposes of our projects, and Camelot Castle in particular. There are not many things that could be more worthwhile than a child's life saved, the prevention of a tragedy, and the salvation of a family's happiness. Thank you once again for being there, and for all your support and kindnesses. Fondest wishes, Mappin. So, now you have seen for yourself that they do recruit there, which is very odd. It's very odd. What is the movie about? You know what? I think I have, hold on, I'll find it. Hold, please, I'll find it. What was it called? Hold on, let me pull this back up. I shouldn't have looked at the chat. I said I wasn't going to. Dang it, hold on. Let me find it, because there's an ad in here. I know there is. Here we go. And the ad is obviously like very dramatic, but that's Scientology, right? So here, let's go ahead and show you. I'm not going to sit here and read it. This is just so you guys can look at it, right? So here we go. Documentary informs parents about psychotropic drugs that could kill children. Dead wrong. The swing. It's a super serial swing, right? Super serial. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had this discussion before, and so I'm not going to have it again. You can go watch my other stream from quite some time ago, United States of Scientology, where I talk about how people can make accurate observations and still be disingenuous about their intentions, right? Because, in my personal opinion, that is what's happening. It's just my personal opinion, and I'm allowed to have it. Because, yeah, obviously, the medication's a problem. But what they don't tell you is that they want you to hold on to the cans. And that's my problem. And people accusing me of hating on Scientology, I'm sorry. Every other group gets hated on. I don't think the Scientology is hated on enough. Okay? So it's the player haters ball over here. All right? So we gonna do the damn thing today. Because this is not the only stream about Kirk that I'm going to be doing. This is just the opening to the topic. So if you feel offended now, just wait. But let's go ahead and let's continue and get into the next thing. So this is going to be basically impossible for you guys to read. But this is from Able Child, the same Able Child that assisted Alex Jones with his SH lawsuit. But this is an article from John Mappin of United Newspapers, July 15th, 2005. Following Tom Cruise's campaign over the past 2 weeks, Sebastian Sainsbury of the prestigious Sainsbury family issues a strong warning in Britain and an alert to all UK parents. Speaking to United National Newspapers today, Sebastian Sainsbury stated the following this morning. As a parent of 2 young children, I hold an inherently responsible position for the welfare of my children. Following some of the recent media and speaking with other parents, I feel the need to extend that responsibility to encompass a wider sphere by informing parents of a situation that could potentially affect all children. I've come across recent FDA warnings that I found quite chilling. Ritalin, an amphetamine classified in the same category as cocaine, has been used for over 4 decades by psychiatrists and doctors over much controversy, and now the FDA comes up with black box labels warning parents of side effects that include suicidal tendencies, hallucinations, aggression, violent actions, and heart failure. The FDA has also recently issued black box warnings on all antidepressants, both for children and adults. Now, we're not going to sit here and read the rest of this because for everybody that has a fully developed frontal lobe, we know all of this stuff, right? We know all of this. However, it is interesting to note here at the end of this, the Sainsbury family is one of Britain's wealthiest and most respected families, right? So these people are pulling in a lot of power. And this is my point. Because people like to paint a conflict, and I've certainly been guilty of it as well. The whole, and again, I don't endorse the what some would call anti-Semitic nature of like the LaRouchian plot, like conspiracy theory, right? Like the British plot to take over America. I'm just saying there's a lot more in common here with the crown than people would like to think. And I think that a lot of this stuff has to do with Scientology, right? Because who's not going to get on board with that? Who's not going to be on board with that? You're helping kids, right? You're making accurate observations about the weaponization of psychiatry and the pharmaceutical industry. These things all make sense, in my humble opinion. But let me go ahead and see what else. Oh, fuck, I knew this was going to be a long show, but I didn't think it was going to be this long. God, y'all gotta give me a second. I'm not even done with Scientology. Oh, fuck. Sorry, guys. Please, just bear with me. Woo. Bear with me, guys. There's so much here. The topic in general, there's just so much to discuss. There's so much to discuss. And again, I'm not trying to be mean to anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I don't care. I just don't care. It's a lot to take in. And I've been like straight up losing my mind with Echo Cat over this stuff for like the past week and a half. For those who have been wondering, I've completely left the reservation. Who's talking about being a snowflake? Are you talking about me being a snowflake? I'm wondering who this person's talking about. Because that's the same person that said that I was being mean about Scientology. Which is just a wild take. People should be meaner about Scientology, in my opinion. Okay, be mean. They think that they can cure you with cans and by staring at you. And I blame Leah Remini for psyoping the public with her TV show, making people think that it's just like a kooky cult that takes your money, right? And might, separate you from your family. Like, read her lawsuits, read the court records, read it. I've done it. She just wants her money back because she's a Hollywood has-been. Boo-hoo. Okay? Little Miss, Leah from the block. Get the fuck out of here. I still completely hold the conspiracy theory that it's like a coup d'etat against David Miscavige. Why would she lie about where Shelley was? To grift. Makes you wonder, right? Almost seems like a conspiracy against David Miscavige, and I am not speaking in favor of David Miscavige. I'm just saying, I think that this speaks more to my theory of a coup d'etat. Why would you go out on TV in front of tens of millions of people and lie about where the top henchman, the leader's wife was? Hollywood will indeed Hollywood. That is very true. Now, let me see. So, I don't really want to like read this one too deeply. However, I do want to show you guys just because in regards to the stuff that I've researched with like Roman Polanski, that there's a Polish connection, which I think is fascinating, right? I think this is very interesting in regards to, I'm going to butcher this name too, Marek Wojciechowski's postcard from the magical Camelot Castle Hotel. So this individual, I'm going to have to try to zoom in here. So the Polish Why We Protest Forum contributor. So apparently they're also recruiting people in Poland or from Poland, which is just kind of interesting to me. Okay. I'm not saying anything one way or the other. I just wanted to include this. All right. So the Mappins are also pulling people from Poland. Whatever. I think that Poles are not all Poles. Excuse my language. We're not going to do generalizations here. However, you guys understand my issues with Poland, okay? And you think hate is bad? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do a thing, and I am going to time you out, Rupert Fellows, because you are being rude to someone that has been not only in my chat for a long time, but is a friend of mine. So I'm not going to tolerate that, and I apologize, Carl Hassel. Yeah. That's also like the person that's saying I'm hating on Scientology. They're calling someone else in my chat a liberal snowflake. Get the fuck out of here. You're timed out for 24 hours. Go cry about it somewhere else. It's not my problem. All right, so let's get into the next article. Let's see. Hold, please, because I think this one is a little bit longer, but not crazy longer. Fuck, it's long. Damn it. I don't know if I want to read all of this. Yeah, all right. So we're not going to read the entire thing, okay? And oh, who's that from? I don't even know what that is or who it's from. But thank you. Shit, I can't even read the name. Hold on, let me make the screen bigger. Damn it, y'all are throwing me off. Thank you for whatever that is, the $10. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Lindsay Waters, thank you. Yeah, don't mess with Carl. Yeah, don't fuck with Carl Hassel. That's my dude. So don't be coming in here talking like that. No, I ain't having that. And again, how dare you call someone a liberal snowflake when you were bitching about me talking about Scientology? And hey, what's up, Heavy Metal Rehab? Your grandfather came over from Poland. That's what's up. I got to email you back, and thank you for the comments. I'm going to catch up with you. Also, off topic, really quick before we get into this article, because Heavy Metal Rehab, I've been talking about the prof, if you guys have been on my Patreon, and in my stream about the yogurt shop murders in regards to Delphi. Isn't it odd that one of Scientology's biggest schools is the Delphi schools? Kill Bill sirens, whoop whoop, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and let's continue. Come on, load. All right, so QAnon in Cornwall. Again, we are not reading this whole thing, but this is from October of 2020 by Tom Scott, and talking about just whatever. It's this BS with freaking QAnon and the flag, because obviously they drove everybody nuts, right? When they flew the flag, okay? And these are people leaving reviews, okay? Leaving travel reviews. Obviously, this is painted as a Scientology smear campaign. They did this weird sort of fake knighting of the dawn. Knighthood at Camelot, right? It's not real. But apparently the staff at Camelot Castle says in Cornwall they like to save the children. I'm sorry, this shit is just way too much for me. Okay, it's way too much for me. But let's go ahead and continue, and I'm sorry I didn't give thumbnails for any of this stuff. And then, obviously the storm, the final battle with the deep state, right? This is all coming from deep state operatives. And right here, his wife Irina announced, this is after the Don gets elected, right? Today is a victory not just for the United States, but for the rest of the planet. As an owner of Russian speaking newspapers, I would like to pass congratulations from all of our readers to Mr. Trump, his family, and all of America. Oh, well, isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Right? And here, continuing, so this is their business partner. If you look into Camelot Castle, Ted Storton, he's an artist. I'm using that very loosely. And it says that he converted to Scientology after Mappin apparently brought his brother out of a coma with it. Again, I would love to see proof of this. And it says that Mappin describes himself as something of a media mogul who owns a newspaper group in London. He discovered Scientology while trying to unsuccessfully become a Hollywood star in the 1990s. The only part he succeeded in landing was in a softcore porn movie, along the unfortunately named Julie Strain. This is true, and I actually considered pulling this up for you guys, but it is extremely graphic. There is a clip on IMDb where you can actually see John Mappin with his mouth all over somebody's body. But I'm not gonna get my video struck because of that, because that's really stupid. Now, let's go ahead and let's go on to the next article. Holy fudge. Holy fudge. Now, this is something that I will be coming back to at some point. And again, just because I'm showing these things does not mean that I co-sign the individuals, the websites, any of that. However, the claims that are made about the people that he makes connections to John Mappin in here are true. And as many of you know, ICU nurse, I've talked about my time during COVID, right? Some people say that like I'm out here as a disinformation agent because I witnessed people dying, right? I did. But I also acknowledge that I still don't know what happened. And I have a lot of questions. And some of the people that I was in hindsight successfully psyop by, they're in here. So let's go ahead and let's take a peek. So Cultic Handlers, Cults, Mind Control, and Plandemonium, Part 4 by Matthew Crawford, August 2023. Now, we're not going to sit here and read all of this, so let's keep going so we can get to the Scientology stuff, right? Because I don't know who these people are. I have no idea. I just thought that the author made some very interesting observations. One of my theories about Scientology is that it's an intelligence agency. I would agree, controlled by the U.S. intelligence community, and specifically within military intelligence, given that Hubbard patterned the organization after the Navy in which he served, masquerading as a religion, or UFO cult, or whatever you want to call it. After all, Scientology points to the Office of Naval Intelligence for having directed Hubbard's activities with Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley's Black Magic Circle. But there are other various direct and circumstantial clues as well. And it was the Plandemonium that alerted me to some of them. In particular, I began to notice the strange number of Scientologists who seemed to be everywhere, associating with large proportions of the people most often presented by the alternative media. The alternative media. Interesting, right? Understand that since Scientology is highly secretive and prone to complex operations, I would agree. Some of these people may not admit to being Scientologists. That's correct. And we like to call them secret Scientologists. But most of them do. My best guess is that all of them are. But if any reach out to deny it, I will make a note. I am told by one of the more rigorous minds in the MFM that Scientologist John Mappin has been actively reaching out to organize those with clout pushing back against official narratives on the European side of the Atlantic. As I have previously noted, Mappin even buddied up with Robert Malone, guiding the vaccine expert into the conservative elite's Carlton Club. That's what I was talking about being psyop by. Mappin is in a good position to be a handler. His bloodline has been jeweler to the crown for nearly 250 years, most of the time since the Prussian Saxon royals have reigned, and he happens to own Camelot Castle now, one of Europe's most iconic hotels. Now, in regards to this whole jeweler thing, when you read the court records, there's a lawsuit. I thought about getting into it, not going to get into it. This isn't really accurate, okay? A different family took over, like, back in, like, the early 60s, late 50s, but let's continue. Scientologist Michelle Ford's impact during the Plandemonium has been largely at arm's length. She threw her weight behind a lot of pandemic policy and vaccine protesters. And let's continue. And here's a photo of some of these individuals: Denise Marie, Brittany Cara, Jamie Juarez, Michelle Ford, Sharon Croner. Note, I am not saying that anyone in this picture is a bad actor. I've tried to do basic research on each of them, and in a short period I've developed a wide range of opinions per individual. But one way to limit or shape the messages of activists is to pair them with a handler. Is that what is going on here? To what end? These are not unimportant questions, even if some of those women are heroes. No, especially if some of these women are heroes. This is an interesting question to put into perspective with Charlie Kirk, right? Did Charlie Kirk have a handler? Of course he had a handler. Who was his handler? Well, we'll get into that. Scientologists around the presidential candidates. I'm sure this is not an exhaustive list, particularly given how many of the Scientologists seem to be QAnoners. Yeah, well, they're both meant to drive you insane. But these relationships all look substantially important to my Thetan-deficient eyes. Robert Kennedy Jr. works closely with lawyer Michael Baum, who was reportedly, here, please correct me if this is incorrect, an unindicted co-conspirator during Scientology's Operation Snow White, the single largest domestic surveillance operation in known history aimed at the federal government. Well, if you guys remember the last stream that I did about the United States of Scientology, we know that old Bobby has all kind of ties to the church, right? But yes, that is the same Michael Baum that is an unindicted co-conspirator in Operation Snow White. So how far back does Bobby, his connections go to Scientology? One has to wonder. Lee Dundas, who rose to high levels in the Scientology organization, also worked for the Children's Health Defense, I think that's what it was called, right? California. She also worked with Simone Gold, somehow got away scot-free from the Capitol protests, acted among organizers of the Fizzled People's Convoy, got kicked out of a pandemic education tour, and is also a QAnoner, friends with Jim Watkins and the QAnon Shaman. The QAnon Shaman. Who remembers that, right? What is that? The starseed stuff? I can't with the starseed stuff. Sorry, not doing that today. Vivek Ramaswamy has been promoted by Grant and Elena Cardone, who are Scientology's largest donors, shoveling tens of millions into the organization's coffers. Well, look at that. It would seem to be true. Isn't that interesting? Because there is Vivek on, or no, that's Vivek's channel, talking to Grant Cardone, king of the grift. Donald Trump's lead attorney on censorship lawsuits aimed at big tech is Scientologist John Cole, husband of vaccine-pushing media veteran Greta Van Susteren. The Trump administration allowed Scientology to take home hundreds of thousands of dollars in PPP loans during the pandemonium. Let's keep going. We're almost done. Interesting observation. Cole is married to Scientologist and veteran talking head news anchor Greta Van Susteren, who promoted vaccines as though they were the obvious solution to COVID-19. She has relationships with other politicians who have been involved in presidential campaigns, including VP candidate Sarah Palin. Will otherwise legitimate lawsuits against big tech fail here, just as some seem to after the 2020 election? Is that by design? Is that the sort of thing you might expect from controlled opposition in the courtroom? What does it mean that almost nobody in or around the MFM is talking about Scientology's strange ability to be everywhere around the MFM? Let us at least ask these questions, then study the facts and data carefully. I don't disagree with this person's observations in regards to this. So, I think that that's some good food for thought. Some of those connections, specifically the Vivek, I didn't know about that one. So hopefully you learned something. That's all I can really hope, is that you learned a little bit. Now, let me see how much more we have specifically with Scientology. Oh, I think we're almost done. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! All right, we're almost done with Scientology. Actually, I think we're pretty much done with Scientology. Then we're going to get into the stuff that's really going to piss people off. Great. Jesus, I'm almost at 2 hours. Bondi is the head of the new anti-Christian bias task force. Didn't they have a task force named something very similar to that in True Detective Season 1? Just saying. Just saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I'm taking a 5-second break. This is a wild time to be alive, guys. Wild time to be alive. I heard that Trump was really petty with the Medal of Freedom that was given to Charlie Kirk today. This is just what I heard. This is what I was told. I'm spreading a little gossip. Forgive me. But the Don can't resist being petty. Look, people don't have to like him. I don't like the guy, but he's funny. He's an entertainer. And again, if you can't laugh, then you'll cry. So just laugh. Because I think the Don's funny. Do I think that he's Cyrus the Great? In a certain context, it seems like that all tracks. Okay? Seems like that all tracks. And yeah, it's the only good season of True Detective. In my humble opinion, it's the only relevant one. But again, it's Christian, right? Christian task force. What does that mean? What does that mean? It's not what you think it means. What is that? What is that from? Like, you keep using that word, but I don't think that you understand what that means. It's something along those lines, right? So let's go ahead and let's take a peek at this. So Mappin was at the funeral that was located, or the memorial service, I'm sorry, not the funeral, the huge one that was on TV that was in Phoenix, right? And this is actually a video where he stands in a circle and starts crying as he's like dancing in a circle, getting everybody on camera. It seems like a bit much, and I'm definitely not a pussy hat wearer. That's absolutely not happening. I would never wear a pussy hat. That is completely ridiculous. So, now that we are done with Scientology, because that's what I have for now. And I did not watch that event. I felt like it was, and I don't care if people think that this sounds crazy, I felt like it was some type of like energy harvesting ritual. And the clips that I saw after the fact, I was like, oh, yeah, that's what that looks like, because it looks like a freaking Kiss concert. You guys realize, like, this all happened just like a month, like a little over a month ago, if not a month ago. How quickly have things changed? How quickly have they accelerated all of this? People love talking about accelerationism, right? People love talking about that, but they only talk about it in one way, and that's in the, you know, 09A 764 way. Why? Why do you think that it's only for one group? Why the delineation? I would highly disagree. A lot has happened in a very short amount of time. And again, it's at the end of the day, he was, a very young man, and he was a father. And I think that that's tragic. And I understand that there are a lot of people who have intense feelings about it. And I'm not trying to discredit that. But I also don't necessarily care, because it doesn't change reality, because feelings don't change reality, right? We're all adults here. I think that we can acknowledge that. So now we're going to get into the stuff that might be a little bit more controversial. And this is not going to be an exhaustive history, okay? Because there's no way for it to be. But we are going to get into, because as I said previously, Candace has pivoted her talking points about who is behind all of this. And I think that it was his own people. But I specifically do think that it is the individuals that are part of the Seven Mountain Mandate. NAR. New Thought Movement. And again, as I said in the beginning, there are many flavors of Christianity. And for those who actually do believe and who study their Bible, because I don't push this stuff on people. I never have and I never will. But there's a wide gate and there's a narrow gate. And that delineation is made for a reason. Right? Because what is the most damning thing in the Bible? Jesus says that he will tell you, you call my name, but you act like you never knew you act like you never knew me. So turn away from me. There's a wide gate and there's a narrow gate. And I understand that Charlie knew his Bible. I get that. But then when I started learning about this Seven Mountain stuff, I was like, oh, whoa, dang. The deceit is real. And if you don't know about this kind of stuff, which again, we're not going to get into all of it today, but the reason why I have such a problem with this is because of the history of this movement. And what is this? This is what Jim Jones was trained in. This is what the Klan promoted. One of the oldest Grand Dragons. Lots of weird stuff from Indiana. Jim Jones specifically. William Branham. This is dark shit. Okay? This is why I have a problem with this kind of stuff. Because they're selling you one thing. It's presented as something that it's not. And again, you don't have to believe in the same thing that I believe in, and I'm not going to judge you at all. But if you do believe, please understand that these people are charlatans. Okay? And I have no problem saying that. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. This is from The Columbian, November 24th, 2024. In California, Charlie Kirk's pastor sees God's hand in Trump's win. All right. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I'm still rotating between two different pages here. So let's go to the next one. There we go. All right. So, I don't want to read this entire thing. One election night, a Southern California pastor in a red MAGA hat filmed a message for his Instagram followers cheering President-elect Donald Trump's victory. Rob McCoy thanked God, and Charlie Kirk, one of the Republican Party's most influential power brokers. This is the epicenter of a rebirth of freedom, McCoy said from the Phoenix headquarters of Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA. Kirk, the 31-year-old conservative firebrand, rallied his millions of online followers to support Trump, prompting conservative podcast host Megyn Kelly to say, "It's not an understatement to say that this man is responsible for helping the Republicans win back the White House and the U.S. Senate." The Atlantic dubbed Kirk the right's new kingmaker, and the man the kingmaker calls his pastor is McCoy of Godspeak Calvary Chapel in Newbury Park. McCoy gained notoriety during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic when he defied public health orders and continued to hold mask-free indoor church services. He sees in Trump a man persecuted by the left who, while flawed like the rest of us, was chosen by God to lead a sinful nation that, in his opinion, allows too many abortions and is too accepting of transgender rights. God saved us, McCoy told his congregants in his first sermon after Trump won. He gave us mercy. We didn't deserve this. This is the wildest take that I've ever heard. I've got to be honest with you guys. I read this and I was like, I'm going to just go bash my head into a wall. McCoy, a vaccine skeptic who has been senior pastor at Godspeak for 25 years, told The Times he considers RFK Jr., the anti-vaccine activist whom Trump has chosen to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, a good friend. Oh, I bet he does. At his church, he has hosted MAGA luminaries like Tulsi Gabbard, a little spooky Tulsi, Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, and Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor. The QAnon king. And, of course, Kirk. Kirk, a millionaire known for his memes and college campus tours meant to own the libs, has credited McCoy for persuading him to meld his right-wing politics, nationalism, and evangelical faith. Although Kirk founded Turning Point USA in 2012 as an avowedly secular youth organization, he now declares that God is on the side of American conservatives and that pastors have a divine duty to preach against progressive policies. There is, he said, quote, no separation of church and state, unquote. In a speech to Trump supporters in Georgia last month, Kirk said that the Democratic Party supports everything that God hates and that there is a spiritual battle happening all around us. Kirk's online reach is vast, 1.5 million followers on Rumble, 2.7 million on YouTube, 4 million on X, and 5 million on TikTok. his nonprofit, Turning Point Action, largely ran Trump's ground game in swing states like Arizona and Wisconsin. After Trump's victory, McCoy joked from the pulpit, "This week, Charlie's going back to Washington to meet with the president because he's going to call in his markers." Kirk in recent days has posted to social media from Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, where the president-elect has been naming MAGA loyalists to his cabinet. After Trump tapped former Florida Rep. Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, Kirk posted a video to X from the passenger seat of a vehicle. Gaetz was behind the wheel and joked that his new job was Charlie Kirk's driver. Asked if Kirk is advising the president-elect or being considered for a role in the administration, Trump spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt, in a statement, said only that Trump's appointments will continue to be announced by him when they are made. McCoy ran unsuccessfully for the state assembly in 2014, but as Kirk's reach has grown, so too has McCoy's. In early April 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, McCoy, a former mayor of Thousand Oaks, resigned from the city council, saying he planned to violate public health orders that banned in-person church services because they were deemed non-essential and dangerous. He dubbed Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom as Mussolini. I do think that's kind of funny, I'm not going to lie. Decried government tyranny and had his YouTube page shut down. Censored, he says, when the platform cracked down on misleading and inaccurate content about the viruses and vaccines. After a San Diego judge allowed strip clubs to reopen, McCoy followed the suggestion of former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee and pretended his church was an essential adult entertainment venue. In the sanctuary, he danced to striptease music, throwing his tie into the congregation where worshippers held up dollar bills. And I did put here a little note because Mike Huckabee is part of IBLP, that cult, okay? So I thought that was really odd. That is who he's consulting, but it also tracks. All right, I don't want to read this entire thing. All right, let's just continue. Ventura County sued McCoy's church for defying public health orders. The county eventually dropped its suit, but Godspeak sued back, alleging its First Amendment rights had been trampled. In 2022, a state appellate court sided with the county. But one effect of the pandemic, McCoy says, was his congregation quadrupling to about 1,500. Kirk, whose college speaking gigs were hampered by campus closures, was welcomed in churches like McCoy's. In a 2021 interview, Kirk said that McCoy, in their first meeting, told him, "You're a Christian, and I want to tell you that not only does the Bible say a lot about civil government, this is true, not only does the Bible say a lot about how we should interact with our leaders, this is true, but I think you should talk more publicly about that." 3 years ago, Kirk shared the power of his Turning Points brand with McCoy, who helped launch TPUSA Faith, which offers training and networking for pastors wanting to be more politically outspoken. Turning Point USA and TPUSA Faith did not return requests from the Times for comment. Matthew Bodie, a professor of rhetoric and composition at the University of North Georgia, said that Rob McCoy was the person who turned Charlie Kirk to Christian nationalism and very specifically the Seven Mountains Mandate, the idea that Christians should try to influence the 7 pillars of cultural influence: arts and entertainment, business, education, family, government, media, and religion. Christian nationalism holds that the United States was founded as a Christian nation and that Christianity should have primacy in government and law. Charlie Kirk has tremendous power both in the evangelical world and Trump world and nationally, and he has tremendous resources that he is putting into all 7 areas of cultural influence, said Bodie, who is writing a book about Kirk. Trump has allowed him to do that, given him the space to do it, but Rob McCoy is the person that convinced him to do it. In an interview with the Times, McCoy insisted he is not a dominionist, that's not true, one who believes the country should be governed by Christians. He said Trump appears to be searching and growing in his own faith. Didn't Trump just say when he was flying to Israel that he's not going to heaven? But that he has been successful. But that he has been successful in each of the 7 pillars and that God appears to be working through him. Interesting. He's a bull in a china shop, McCoy said, but he also keeps his promises. I'm not looking for a pastor-in-chief. I'm looking for a bodyguard for Western civilization. McCoy, like pastors on both sides of the political aisle, openly flouts the Johnson Amendment, a 1954 law that bars tax-exempt organizations from participating in political campaigns and endorsing candidates. Trump has said he wants to totally destroy the Johnson Amendment, which would require an act of Congress. McCoy said he is disgusted by Christians saying they don't do politics because politics is dirty, as though the rest of the world and they themselves are pure. Let's finish this up. We're getting there, guys. We're almost there. He also bristles at the term Christian nationalist, saying there's nothing wrong with loving God and his country at the same time. Well, yeah, that's it. See, people can make observations and they're being disingenuous. This is the thing that angers me so much. Trump, who polls show won the support of 8 in 10 white evangelical voters in this election, is one of many Republican politicians who have courted evangelicals. But Trump, more than most others, has cast himself as a divinely chosen and wrongly persecuted protector of Christians, telling his supporters that he's standing between you and the secular left that is out to get you, said Barry Hankins, a history professor at Baylor University who has written books about evangelicalism. As the U.S. has become more progressive and secular, at the same time congregations are shrinking and aging, Christians have lost much of their cultural power, leaving many to feel under assault, Hankins said. Trump is brilliant at just picking up on this and marketing it and branding it for his own political purposes. I would completely agree. He's an entertainer. He's a performer, right? He might even be a magician. The Republican Party platform, while vague on many topics, specifically says the GOP will champion prayer and reading the Bible in schools. McCoy, citing Trump's ability to weather indictments, setbacks, and assassination attempts, called his election a miracle. Listen to this hot take. Listen to it. He likens Trump to Samson, a flawed biblical figure who was used by God for a greater purpose. He's got iconic hair and a propensity for women, McCoy said of Samson. Trump's got iconic hair and a propensity for women. Wow. As for restricting abortion, Trump, who has vacillated on this issue, is not exactly where the pastor would like him to be, but has done more for the life movement than any other president in modern history, period, he said. Okay, it's another really hot take. And let's continue. Evangelical activists say they expect him to do more. In a letter to the Trump transition team, the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention urged Trump to take steps to curtail access to the abortion pill mifepristone. I can never say that right. McCoy said that with Trump returning to the White House, he sees a golden era for his efforts and those of TPUSA faith to remove wokeness, including diversity initiatives and critical race theory from the American church. He said he plans to start a podcast in which he discusses politics, and in July he will step down as senior pastor at Godspeak, though he will still have a speaking role because of his growing role with TPUSA faith. Days before the election, McCoy had preached that if Trump lost, life is going to take on catastrophic conditions because of the evil espoused by the left. But after Trump's victory, changed his tune. People who disagree with us are not the enemy, he posted on Instagram. They are the opportunity. Indeed, right? You gotta, if you're a good businessman, you're gonna seize on the opportunity, right? And again, I'm not here to besmirch anyone's favorite politician, okay? I don't care. This topic specifically is the only time that I'm going to sit here and discuss my beliefs. But I'm trying to just stick with the facts. Because yes, this is Noahide, this is Seven Mountain Mandate. This is not what they are presenting it to be. That's all I'm saying. And you don't have to agree with me. I understand that, and I'm not asking you to, and I apologize for the dogs barking in the back, but I want to keep going because it's already been 2 hours and 12 minutes. So I said specifically that Candace had kind of changed her tune, right? So let's go ahead and let's just take a quick peek. Okay? So, right here, this is All the King's Men. And let me pull this up. So, in this stream, she says that Charlie had stopped seeing McCoy. She said that Charlie was attending Catholic Mass, praying to the Rosary, in the midst of a spiritual battle. And allegedly, Erica had a Catholic priest come over to bless them because of that witch hex from that magazine. Because I know all of you guys saw that magazine, right? Where the witches were like, oh, we put a hex on Charlie Kirk. Obviously, people at Turning Point are denying this. But she also makes claims that Rob McCoy, leaders in NAR, and Turning Point are asking her to stop investigating Kirk's death. Now that is fascinating to me. And I love dogs too. Yeah, but there's noise back there. I didn't want you guys to think that I was ignoring it. So now, in regards to McCoy, this was referenced earlier, right? So that's Mikey. Oh, who else is that? I said I was done talking about Scientology. No, I wasn't. Because there's John Mappin and Rob McCoy's son, Mikey. So Mikey is the Turning Point chief of staff, and he is the one who said that they have over 10,000 charter requests, I think that it was, right? So that's a lot. That's a lot, right? And then here we have this Turning Point faith. Pastors using politics as a church growth strategy. This is from June of 2023. And no, I'm not going to sit here and read this entire thing because at this point I feel like gouging my eyes out. Okay? But here Charlie is doing whatever he's doing. There you go. We're going to continue. I don't think that I highlighted anything in here, but let's just go through the entire thing. And there is McCoy, right? So obviously, in regards to this, because some of this stuff is the same, right? We just heard from Professor Bodie. So, in regards to this, they seized on a moment of crisis, as any good businessman does, right? So, COVID, obviously, and again, hey, I went through it too, right? I was on the other side of the belly of the beast. I get it. But he says they experienced 400% growth. Obviously, the persecution complex or persecution is real, right? And I think that there were a lot of things that were done wrong, and I think that our constitutional and civil rights were violated. But I can still disagree with these people, right? And I can still see these people as charlatans. And there he is with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is now doing the latest sort of Epstein grift, whatever. It's now people are like, even people that, hated Marjorie Taylor Greene 6 months ago were like, oh my God, she's actually speaking out for victims. And it's like, no, she's not. No, she's not. Let's give up on the Epstein shit, guys. Okay? Let's just give it up. You guys are, give it up. Give it up. Okay. Now, if this is true, if what Candace says is true, and it very well could be, but it's still in my head about John Mappin saying that, this influence from Candace of Catholicism has helped him to be a better Scientologist, right? I don't really know. So this is from the Catholic Times, Columbus.org, talking about Dominion theology and its relationship to Catholic teaching. And it says in 2011, C. Peter Wagner listed Dominionism as a defining characteristic of the New Apostolic Reformation, or NAR. Dominionism, also called Dominion theology or Kingdom Now theology, remains a bedrock principle for NAR believers. Some Catholics have embraced it too. Well, it seems like Scientology embraces it because it's what Turning Point pushes. Now, Candace is saying that the McCoys and, these other Turning Point individuals are asking her to not talk about it, but she was also blaming it on Israel 5 minutes ago, right? So, Dominionism came from E.W. Kenyon, also the father of the prosperity gospel. Kenyon took the 19th century New Thought belief that diseases could be cured by mind power. Oh, doesn't that sound like Scientology? And mixed it with his own eccentric version of Christianity to make a combination of mind cure and faith healing. Kenyon went back to Genesis and interpreted the story of the fall in terms of dominion and authority. Adam and Eve were God's creation and also his sons and daughters who had legal authority to rule all creation, including Satan and angels. When Adam disobeyed God, committing the crime of high treason, he lost that dominion and it was handed over to Satan, who now had universal dominion. Adam's sin not only gave him and his descendants a sin nature, but also introduced disease into the world. Kenyon taught that sickness and sin have the same origin. Even God was bound to recognize Satan's legal rights as ruler of creation. The only solution was for God to send his son to suffer the punishment Adam had earned. For Kenyon, because Jesus was virginally conceived, he did not have the sin nature of fallen Adam and had the same authority and dominion Adam had lost. This is why he could work miracles. When Jesus rose from the dead, Satan lost his absolute dominion over creation and Jesus handed it over to his followers. Christians now have the same authority that Jesus had and the legal right to exercise it. Healing the sick is like cashing a check in a bank where you have sufficient funds. Instead of praying for the sick, Christians should heal them. Tell me what difference that is between Scientology. Nada. Nada. There is no difference. There's a lot of other theologies, a lot of other religions, a lot of other psyops out there, whatever you want to call it, but I'm trying to stay on topic today. This is very similar. Again, this is someone specifically manipulating, story as old as time, a belief system to benefit their own. So do I believe Candace? I, like many other people, tried to give her the benefit of the doubt that she was trying to, find out what happened to her friend, right? But with the story pivoting so much, no, I don't anymore. I don't buy it, right? I don't buy it anymore because, she's changed her story so many times and has not really given a reason why. Not that she has to give a reason to me. But why aren't people asking questions? That's my thing to her with her major pivot. Because yes, Echo Cat, exactly. She has told people now that Charlie converted to Catholicism. But remember what John Mappin said, that's complementary with Scientology, right? So do you see this enmeshing of everything? This oneness of everything? Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just go over this very brief article because I am going to pull up a video and I think it's how we're going to close out. But in regards to this topic, exposing the New Apostolic Reformation's roots, William Branham and his heretics. So, Chris Rosebrough has done a series of Fighting for the Faith programs analyzing the key features of the New Apostolic Reformation cult, NAR, aka the Christian Taliban, hot name. The first radio broadcast analyzed the NAR false commission known as the Seven Mountain Mandate teaching and their false gospel, which they call the Gospel of the Kingdom. The second broadcast exposed the NAR's false ecclesiology and false authority, addressing their emphasis on restored apostles and prophets, emphatically demanding the church submit to their governance. Oh, like Cyrus the Great? The third broadcast exposed the NAR's false eschatology and false theology of glory, teaching people to be in the true church and be of the elect new breed to combat the false church. What is the NAR? The New Apostolic Reformation is a cult that emerged from the New Order of the Latter Rain Revival in 1948, spearheaded by a number of individuals, specifically William Marion Branham. In the last few decades, it rebranded itself as the Charismatic Renewal Movement, or CRM, in the late 60s, and then the New Apostolic Reformation, or NAR, in the 1990s. C. Peter Wagner has been one of the leading, I can't see it because of freaking Restream, voices in the movement, I don't know. The New Apostolic Reformation cult preaches a false Jesus, false gospel, and New Age metaphysical teachings and strategies in an attempt to bring heaven to earth. Boom. Take that to the bank. Don't care if you like it. Don't care if your feelings are hurt. That is what these people are teaching. Okay? It is a false Jesus, false gospel, and it is New Age metaphysical BS. Okay? Bada boom, bada bing. Continuing. In this fourth episode, Chris Rosebrough decided to look at a major part of the NARS Foundation's William Branham. He's such a fascinating character. In this episode, Rosebrough plays a number of sound bites of popular Narismatics such as Jim Baker, Benny Hinn, T.L. Osborne, Daisy Osborne, Paul Crouch, Jan Crouch, Todd Bentley, and so on, all endorsing their mighty hero, William Branham. In the first hour, he also reads out loud the American AOG document that condemned the New Order of the Latter Rain revival that Branham was involved in. In the second hour, he reviews a frightening sermon of William Branham that exposes his anti-Trinitarian roots and the struggle that he clearly had with the demonic in his lifetime, confusing what he thinks is the Holy Spirit. We would like to point out that Branham said he had a visitation late one night confirming his end times John the Baptist-like ministry. However, we were struck by Branham stating he had this, visitation at 3 a.m. Is this not the witching hour? Or the devil's hour? From Wikipedia. Adversely, the term devil's hour applies to the hour of 3 a.m. or 3:15, the suggestion being that this demonic hour is an inversion of the time at which Christ died at Calvary, the suggestion being that this hour is a mocking of the Holy Trinity. History shows that Branham was someone who did indeed reject the Trinity. Many charismatics would also have issue with the light manifesting itself as a spinning green fire above Branham's head. Many so-called discerning charismatics today would associate this manifestation as demonic, since the light itself is not pure light. From Fighting for the Faith. So, for those who have looked into William Branham, have looked into any of this stuff, and there's people here from 2019 that are leaving comments who came out of this. The Christ for the Nations Institute, IHOP KC, some of you may know this. People who have left these groups very recently, that this is exactly what they're saying it is. That it is a false gospel. And I don't like to call people liars, right? But William Branham is kind of like I don't know what you would call it, sort of like a pet project. Not a pet project, it's just something that I've always been interested in because of what I'm going to show you guys here, which is this individual. I have to recommend his books. I can't recommend them enough because this will get you on the level of paranoia, if you would like it, in regards to Jim Jones and the People's Temple. I'll take you on a little journey with me. So, whatever, I used to buy into like the true crime narrative, right? But then I read the book Preacher Behind the White Hoods, and in that, you find out that Jim Jones was trained and sort of groomed by William Branham and some of his peers. There's Roy Davis, who was the Grand Dragon of the Klan, right? There's a lot of really weird stuff here. It's all very dark. What is it? What is that mega church pastor in Texas that had the money in the walls? What is his name? Somebody tell me. Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen's grandfather. Okay. Joel Osteen's grandfather was like in the revival circuit, the tent revival circuit with these people. The Kardashian family, the Kardashian family of today. That family, they were funding this. Yeah, the Kardashians were funding the Klan. The Klan's like tent circuit stuff. Okay. This involves the Chicago World's Fair. I'm telling you, it's a journey. But I believe the true crime narrative, and then when I learned all this stuff about Jim Jones, I was like, I don't know anything. I literally know nothing. I'm a buffoon and a charlatan, and this book was part of my like breaking away from true crime because I felt very misled and very lied to. But, that's what great deceivers do, right? So, let me see if I can pull this up because I think this is the video that I want. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves for 5 seconds. I know I keep saying that, but I need to find that dang video. think it's one that Echo sent me. But it wasn't long either. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Well, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. Hold on one second. Let me see. I'm going to mute this. I'll still be here, but I'm going to mute it for a second. Okay, never mind. Those videos are way too long, and I've literally been going for 2.5 hours. Fuck. I'm tired, but I am tired. So I am going to show you guys this website though, because, and I will drop it in the chat. It's not pretty. He has a YouTube channel. His books aren't fancy, but this is where I'm leaving it because this is where I'm going to be picking up with Echo. Okay? Because there's so much here in regards to Nar, in regards to like the Malachi 4 Elijah prophecy. There's so much here to discuss. And I feel like we've already covered a lot today. But I think that this topic is really important, especially for those who are not familiar with it, and if you just want to know more about Jim Jones, right? Because who doesn't want to know more? So this is the book, Preacher Behind the White Hoods, A Critical Examination of William Branham and His Message. And again, this is one of the best websites on the topic, best books. Drop that in there. And The Forgotten Prophet Who Reshaped Global Christianity. I'm telling you, when you guys, I mean, if you're familiar with Bethel Church, Kansas City Prophets, Latter Rain, okay, all of this, it's really dark and it's really big. But I think that it's really important because that is the shape or frame of what Turning Point is pushing, right? And again, I don't think that Candace is a reliable narrator. Excuse me, my allergies. Because, she's changed her story so many times. Will we ever know what happened? I don't really know. We still have a lot more to talk about. Of course, I'm still going to talk about Erica. Yeah, I've got the stuff about, Romania. I've got the video with the whatever his bushel or whatever the colonel's name is that's tied to some like human trafficking stuff. I translated all the articles, I archived them, I've got the video, I've got it. We'll talk about all of that. But that's what everybody jumped to, right? That's what everybody jumped to immediately. People went, Israel did it. Erica Kirk is trafficking, babies in Romania. And I'm like, these are extremes. It's a little bit extreme. What's really going on here? And what's really going on, in my opinion, is pretty, I'm not going to say scary, because I'm certainly not going to be like out here blackpilling or fear-mongering, but, it's just really dark, man. This is, this is stuff that, I've understood would happen someday. I just didn't know that it would necessarily be happening in my lifetime. And again, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. Okay? I don't care if you do or not. And I am not here to hurt anybody's feelings. And I'm sorry if I have. It's not my intention. But there needs to continue to be critical evaluation of this entire situation. And people need to, and I am not simping. So don't get it twisted. Clip this, don't manipulate it. I am not simping for Israel. So get the fuck out of here with that. However, you cannot sit here and just blame everything on Israel. Okay? It doesn't work. It's become a joke. And again, in my personal opinion, there's a lot of money at stake here, right? A lot of money at stake. So would it behoove somebody like Benny Netanyahu to come out and do a big presser and insist that they had nothing to do with it? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It would absolutely behoove them. There's a lot of money at stake, right? But in my personal opinion, what I think happened, and again, this is just my personal opinion, is that these Seven Mountain Mandate people, these NAR individuals, these are the people that took Charlie out. And the reason why I think they took Charlie out is because this knocked out at least one mountain for them. People who were on the fence, look at how much has changed in a month. In a month. It's been wild to watch, honestly. It's been a lot to watch it unfold in real time. And again, it's the legal authority to take dominion of this earth by any means possible. So, do I think that they saw a moment where they could weaponize the assassination of a very young individual? Whatever the machinations behind the scenes, who really knows? To get the people that were on the fence all the way? To make people think that there's a persecution in this country, in this world? Yes, this is what I believe. Because ultimately, if dominion is taken on this earth, and we've got like Cyrus the Great, because you see what I'm saying, how you can't blame Israel because they're playing their part with their Cyrus the Great crap. It's everything's happening here on earth, right? You get what I'm saying about false gospel, false belief system, right? Because my belief is that earth is not my home. Thank God. Praise God. Earth is not my home. And this meat sack floating on a rock through space, it's temporary. That's just my belief. But these people, all in their own way, are playing their role to have dominion over the earth. So I would just, sorry, my allergies. I swear it's my allergies. Just kidding. Hold on, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to hit that button. Sorry, I'm tired. I did not mean to hit that button. I'm just saying, everybody, pay attention or don't pay attention. But don't believe everything from the jump that you see. Don't believe me. This is why I show you where I get stuff, okay? And again, this was not just me. This was me and Echo Cat. And Echo Cat's much smarter than me. However, please, all I would ask of you is to consider taking away your affection for certain influencers, especially in the political sphere and in the religious sphere. Take away your affection and just look at things objectively, because I'm never going to preach at you. Okay? It's not going to happen. And some people might say that this is me being a bad witness. You know what I mean? But I just know that, look at me, I look like a felon and I cuss, right? And I'm divorced. So I don't want to turn people off, right? I understand why people don't like what I believe in, because it's so hypocritical. So I'm just saying, consider that you're being lied to or that the truth is being manipulated. And it doesn't have to mean that everything is a Q level psyop where it's all fucking fake and there's body doubles everywhere, because that ain't it either. Sorry, I don't do the Q stuff. Okay? I'm just saying. People like John Mappin, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes. Oh God, I don't even know who else. I'm not even just hating on the people that would consider themselves conservative. I can't think of any of the lefty ones. Like, I don't care. Have your feelings, but just consider that those people are lying to you. And go look it up. And yes, AP gifts. Basically, everyone, not just one group, is playing their role and following their script as they play in a system of Antichrist. Essentially, yes. But people think that that makes me fucking crazy for saying that. You don't have to believe it, and that's okay. I hope that you learned something today. As long as you learned something, then that's great, because I think that we should always be learning, right? But before I have like another halfway allergy attack and then click out and look like a fucking tweaker, I think I'm gonna try to wrap this up for now, because wow, I've been going for almost 3 hours. I am shocked that it's lasted this long. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. For you guys that stayed, God bless you. That's wild. Yeah, Tucker Carlson. Oh, dude, I gotta do a stream about that show that he did with the occultist dude. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. And same, real John Doe. I don't trust anybody. Look for yourself. Have an open mind. Consider that folks may be getting paid by a certain group behind the scenes, and that does not mean that one group of people or one country's government controls everything. Because you're getting psyoped on that shit too. Okay? I'm just saying. Don't Miles Mathis everything. I think that that's my parting words, is don't Miles Mathis everything. That nothing happened and it's all the CIA and the Jews' faults. Don't Miles Mathis everything, okay? Be a critical thinker. Keep your head on straight. Okay? On a swivel. Be safe.